Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. And I'm excited to show you all a little leaf tea and leaf management at our press conference. It's not the kind of tea that I like to have, but that's all right. We're hoping that this morning we can share information that will encourage our community to look at leaf management through a different lens, and more importantly, to keep leaves out of the street. More than 50% of the annual amount of phosphorus in urban stormwater can come from leaves in the street. 50%, folks. That's a pretty significant contribution to the phosphorus that's going into our lakes. And if every person raked leaves before every rainstorm, we could reduce phosphorus in our lakes by 50%. On average, a typical fall season has about 8 storms. So that would mean that every one of us would have to rake at least 8 times, and we could make a really big impact on the water quality of our lakes. Leaf management is a community effort as a whole. In the city, we work across multiple agencies to understand the best way to manage leaves from an environmental, operational, and practical standpoint. But it takes all of us to keep leaves out of the street. We are going to do our part at the city, but we need others to do theirs as well. It starts with understanding the impact that leaves can have on our waterways. It continues with clearing and picking them up on the streets. It includes raking your own yard, and it takes all of us to work together. And when we do, our lakes will be a lot cleaner and our environment will be better. So this morning, we're going to have a demonstration showing what happens when you leave your leaves in the street. And we'll also hear about this fall's sweeping strategies, past leaf studies, and a current pilot study that's underway. And then we'll get to see how the leaf collection equipment works, and you'll get to see it in action. I just want to say again how important it is for us to partner with our entire community on this. As you'll see today, the city is doing a lot to manage leaves and to make sure that they stay out of our lakes. But we do need everybody to help, and we need everybody to help not only on your own property, but also to help your neighbors. So I'd like to invite engineer Phil Gabler from the City of Madison Engineering Division up, and he's going to show us some science.
As the mayor said, my name is Phil Gabler. I'm an engineer for the City of Madison, and I worked for the last 5 years on the leaf study that we did with the U.S. Geological Survey. And one of the things we investigated there was how does the phosphorus actually leave from our landscape and get into the lakes during the fall? And we found that it's actually the leaves that are on the street that's causing the majority of the phosphorus transport, right? The rain falls, it doesn't have anywhere to soak in, it gets the leaves wet. Once that water runs off, even if the leaves stay on the street, the phosphorus leaves the leaves and makes it into the lakes. So I put together a little demonstration to show what we're calling this process is making leaf tea. And so over here I have rainwater that I stole from my neighbor's downspout. We have a jar full of leaves that I then poured the rainwater in and let that steep for a little while. And if we look at the research out there, in as little as 2 hours, almost all of the phosphorus can leach out of the leaves and into the water, but it happens very quick. Even 15 minutes, a large percentage is coming out of the leaves and getting into that water that runs into the lakes. So I'm going to come over here and speak loudly. So if we look at the change, right, we have this filled with leaves, and this has been soaking for a little over 2 hours. And now if we go ahead and pour this out, you can see just like regular tea, it's become colored with the tannins from the leaves. It's a little bit foamy. And the color really isn't the most important thing here. It's the phosphorus that's in that water. That goes into the lake and becomes food for algae. So we want to prevent this from happening as best as we can.
Good morning, Charlie Romine, Streets Division Superintendent. So what is the city doing to help prevent that from happening? Alder Rhodes Conway mentioned some of the things that our residents can do. There's some things that the Streets Division has done for a very long time. Our street sweeping, our leaf collection processes. We've made some improvements this year, and in brief, really what those primarily include is in our street sweeping program, we've made some changes to our schedule. We're staggering shifts. We're putting employees on 4 10-hour days. We're staggering those so that the machines, the street sweeping machines, are running 25% more hours per week. And so what that has looked like for this year from May 1st through the end of September is over 500 tons of additional material, including leaves, have been removed from the street versus previous years. We're really excited what that's going to mean in October and November as we move into peak leaf season to have those additional hours built in. We've always worked some overtime during that time, so that this will be additive to that. So I think we're in a position to be quite successful for our leaf season. And I think the important thing to point out is that we've added that 25% additional tons, that additional sweeping time at less than 3% on a sweeping budget. So it's been a really quite a major win. Some of you may be aware that the city is looking, we've expanded the Clean Street, Clean Lake program kind of in the center third of the city, where many, not all, but many of our large trees and mature trees are. We expect that to help us get to the curb year-round, both in the winter, summer, and now the fall. And we're taking advantage of that in a pilot study this fall in the Vilas Greenbush neighborhood, where our operators, in an operation that you'll see demonstrated here in a little bit, in the past have always struggled to get to the curb during leaf season, which really slows us down. It prevents us from getting to the curb, which allows that T situation to occur as the water moves to the curb and starts to seep the leaves. So by having those cars removed from one side of the street 1 day a week, 4 days a week, it allows our residents to know with certainty when we're coming. So you can tell your teenager, your boyfriend, husband, wife, get out and get those leaves raked. The city's coming tomorrow, and we'll get those cleaned up. So we're really excited to see how that does here in the next 4 to 6 weeks as we move into peak leaf season. And we're looking to see how we're able to resource that and hopefully expand that pilot, presuming its success in future years. Thank you.
Another resource that we want folks to know about is rippleeffects.com. So that's ripple-effects.com. And what you can do on this website is sign up to get text alerts or email alerts when it's going to rain, which will remind you that you need to get out and rake. You can also request a free sign to post in your yard to remind neighbors to rake and to keep our streets leaf-free. And there's also educational resources. So I just went to the website and I've filled in the very little form. It took me maybe 15 seconds. I just have to add my email and click Join Now. And I'm signed up. Super easy to do, and now they're going to text me when it's going to rain so that I can remember to get out there and rake not just my yard, but also the street next to my yard, and make sure I have a stormwater inlet right in front of my house. So one of the things that I always do when I rake is make sure that I'm raking the leaves out of that inlet to as much as I can, getting them up on the curb so they're not going to wash down into the stormwater system and get into our lakes, and that this tea is not going to get into the lakes. Another resource that I want to share with folks is the Streets Division has pickup schedule maps and rules for leaf collection on the city's website, regardless of where in the city you are. And now our streets crews are going to show us how the leaf collection equipment works. And I want to thank everybody for coming, but mostly I want to thank everyone in the city of Madison for doing their part to keep leaves out of our streets and phosphorus out of our lakes. Thank you.